Economic freedom and personal freedom run hand in hand. In order to enjoy our personal freedom, Americans need access to credit as individuals, on behalf of their families, and in their businesses. That is why I'm so proud to introduce this bill. H.R. 3791 is a very simple bill to help small banks and savings and loan companies get the access to the capital they need to make credit available to their communities. These small banking institutions are critical to the people in the communities in which they reside. They support the credit needs of families, small businesses, farmers, and entrepreneurs. Community banks are often the principal lending source for many people, whether they're purchasing a home, starting a new business, or purchasing a vehicle. In many counties around the nation, a community bank is the only banking presence that residents have. When these community banking institutions are overwhelmed with regulations and mandates, many of which are meant for larger institutions, it is hardworking families, middle-income and low-income families in those communities that suffer the most. Mr. Speaker, it's about people. Community banks give people the credit they need to pursue their dreams, to start a business. In fact, proximity to a community bank increases the chances that new small businesses will be approved for a loan and will have the chance to succeed. By raising the consolidated asset threshold under the Federal Reserve Small Bank Holding Company policy statement from $1 billion to $5 billion in assets, over 400 additional small banks and thrift holding companies will qualify for coverage under the policy statement and therefore be exempt from certain regulatory and capital guidelines. These capital standards were originally established for larger institutions and disproportionately harm small holding companies. Many holding companies that are above the current threshold face challenges in regards to capital formation, just when regulators are demanding higher capital levels. These exemptions provided in the policy statement make it easier for small holding companies to raise capital and issue debt. This bill is about making sure regulations fit the size of the institution. Mr. Speaker, a similar effort was passed into law during the last Congress, under suspension in the House and by unanimous consent in the Senate. That bill raised the threshold from $500 million, where it's been since 1996, to $1 billion. That legislation also extended the exemption to saving and loan holding companies. While we're glad that we were able to achieve that increase, which helped roughly 500 small banks and thrift holding companies, we'd like to extend those benefits further. H.R. 3791 would bring more than 400 additional small institutions within the scope of the policy statement. Our success story has been told, and we've already seen it from the previous increase that, in instance, 35 holding companies pooled their resources to issue debt under the policy statement. That debt was then downstreamed to the respective banks, where the capital was then used to make loans in communities they serve, illustrating the great multiplier effect that the policy statement can produce. H.R. 3791 seeks to extend that flexibility and success to a greater number of small institutions and the communities they serve. Opponents of this increase have alleged that changing the regulatory thresholds would put communities and deposit insurance funds at higher risk. But the policy statement contains several safeguards designed to ensure that small bank holding companies to operate with higher levels of debt permitted by the policy statement, and they do not present an undue risk to safety and soundness of their subsidiary banks. Mr. Speaker, to sum this up, this bill is not about supporting banks. It's about supporting families, communities, small businesses. It's about making sure that small business owners like my constituent, Jennifer Jones, to have the access to the credit she needs to expand her early childhood academy, where she teaches children to read before they reach kindergarten. It's about families sitting around the kitchen table, imagining the possibility of renovating or improving their homes. It's about that entrepreneur starting a restaurant and being her own boss. It's about the thousands of new jobs that will be created in those communities as a result. The raising of the threshold received widespread bipartisan support in the last Congress, and I hope that the people will receive equal support this time. Thank you.